It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your robots are? Oh, here they are. Welcome back, Automation Nation. We're here in the Industrial Revolution. We're going to be heading up to the copper mine very soon to get that underway. Today we're going to be constructing mining operations, crushing, smelting, attaching it all to the rail systems, and that's going to be awesome. But first things first, I wanted to make a small addition here. We're going to be placing some electric and a few bronze forestries. We'll go all electric, but it takes quite a while to craft these things with my current setup, and we want to keep things moving. So we'll go ahead and take care of this side of things and make sure these are all operating. You see they're all red X'd. We are going to be going ahead and planting a tree bed of rubber wood for each of these, and that should clear that up nicely. It's going to take a long time, maybe even 50 minutes to bring this up to full capacity, but once it's up, we won't have to worry about it too much. So now we just need to go ahead and add in water pump and get these hydrated, and then we're going to be feeling pretty good about this setup over here. Shows this area in particular. It's a bit awkward of a spot, but it's going to be nice because I'm really worried about the pollution that's going across the ocean, not really getting absorbed by anything. I guess there's some trees over here, but yeah, I want to address this. We're putting a lot of boilers in the general vicinity. We want to try to clean up the pollution, and it's going to be the best thing we can do. Just trying to remove this as quickly as possible. So we're going to send all this to the west. So a little bit of rubber wood, which we can connect to the main line here in the near future. And we can go ahead and just run this all the way through to our next area. Meeting of the different chunks. And run that right through. So that should be the spot. And we can go ahead and do the same thing with the electric forestries this time. So we'll go ahead, take care of business there. It's going to be great. Bam. And then we'll, of course, have to provide electricity to all these items. But once we get the water up and running, I think we will be just dandy. That should work perfectly fine for what we need. And away we go. Now, this is going to unfortunately generate wood. It's something we want to be avoiding. So what we're going to be doing is actually chopping down any trees that are in the vicinity. It still prioritizes rubber trees for growth and inevitably for pulling from them, but I don't want any wood on this line that I have to worry about that will go out on the transport belt and have nowhere to go. So we'll go ahead and just clear out the line entirely. They're inoperable for the moment, and then we'll just go ahead and plant the seed. So that'll fill up these areas nicely so that they will grow, prosper, and we'll have a new rubber farm. So like I said, I'll probably upgrade the bronze forestry to electric here in the future, but for right now, we'll just work with what we have. Then we need the conveyor belts to put all that together. And then we can send it across. So we do need rubber for quite a few things. We'll be needing it for radars and for just a number of items that use the heavy copper cables. Nothing really renewable, but stuff that we'll be using. Even the labs require it, so it's going to be important for sure. And we just need to bring it down over and connect it to here. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't think this will work, but little landfill magic will make that not a problem. Let's go ahead and fill that up as well. And then we'll soon be on our way. Right over there is our target, and it should be relatively easy to match these up now. Great, and we'll just turn it onto there, no problem. So that will go ahead and supply the rubber wood. It's going to be slow going for it to build up, but over the next 45-50 minutes it's going to be building up to full value as a tree grows. Each of these trees grow, and that's going to be what allows us to handle it. I guess these don't really count. Yeah, we see a little rubber wood, and that's going to just be adding to the supply there. The one thing I did want to do before we head up as well, I ended up getting the chance to handcraft some personal roboports. The new robots require batteries, which I don't have, but these ones we have the materials for. We're going to go ahead and throw that in, and that's going to allow us to increase the recharge rate of the robots, so they're not just hanging around as much. We can go ahead and do that for our for the heavy roller as well, and we'll just let that charge while we're heading up. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna grab a few things, and then next time we meet, I'll see you up here. All right, welcome back. We have driven through the night, and we have made it up to the copper patch. We were able to bring in the large wooden poles to connect this to the electric grid that's all the way down here. And it actually didn't take too long. I thought this would be a bit of a trek, but honestly, it was a real quick thing. And yeah, no big deal. So maybe put this off for longer than I needed to as a result of that, but it's all good. We're going to go ahead and fill in some gaps here on the landfill side so we can actually make sure our mining operations are placed appropriately. And then, yeah, I think we'll be ready to rock and roll with some drilling. Question is, where do we want this stuff to go? Apparently rubber trees up here. Don't think I'm really going to take advantage of that because it's just a really long trek to send it all the way down here. I guess I have freed up some conveyor belt lines technically from this highway, but yeah, not my preferred way of making this happen. So anywho, what we're going to be doing is connecting a depot, harvesting, mining, and then connecting it to this railway, sending it on down, and yeah, that means that we're going to need to figure out where the rails are actually going to go. So this is all going to be raw ore that's coming out of here. We're not going to be processing it in any way up prior to this. I could see us, yeah, just pulling up the train up to here and being happy with that. So let's go ahead and fill this in too on the landfill side. And that'll help with what we're trying to do here. So rails. I need to clear this way as well. Robots are amazing, aren't they? Just the most helpful little guys you can find. So all this stuff in the way would be a real pain to chop hand to hand, but here we are just taking care of it, no problem. Like it's no problem at all. Alright, sounds good to me. I think this will work fine. We want to try to make sure that it curves out to the right vertical position. Looks like that will do it. And other than a little bit of water in the way, it will connect nicely. So a few ways that we can look at today. We're going to be looking at two different forms of three-way intersections. I've got some time offline to play a little bit and play around with some different options there. We're going to go with the most basic one that we can for right now, which is just going to be this 90-degree turn. We'll just go ahead and flip it horizontally, match it right here, and it all connects nicely. So just mirroring that and then setting up. I thought I had a few more rail signals. They might have gotten eaten by the train stops. They did. But we'll go ahead and make a few more of these. And the simple way you can do it is just as you approach in any of these intersections, really the easiest way to do it is to just block it off at the points that you approach from. And exit from. And that's going to be very rudimentary way to block it off so that no train enters this intersection without while another train is in the intersection, basically. It's not the best, I'll admit. Setting this up like this, yeah, it works. It's not going to be, there's going to be some throughput issues where there'll be trains waiting that don't necessarily need to wait. Oh, we did forget one line here. But shouldn't change too much. Yeah, it's still all blue. Yeah, you can put it in a little bit closer too, and this will like improve it slightly. But at the end of the day, this is a very basic way of signaling. And it's like, okay, well, this is separate. Each line is individually separate, but the second that one is in the intersection, everybody halts to a stop. And it's not bad at a smaller scale, but we're going to see alternatives that will allow us to do a bit more with that. Anywho, for now, I think the goal will be another one of these. Not really feeling it that way, actually. I think it's going to be more like this. What did I just do? Is there something? There's this tiny drop of water here. All right, fair enough. And we want to make sure that there's enough space for the 4 cars that we are going to be running for a train stop. So here in this case, we've only got enough space for 3 cars. Got to bring it down a bit further, and that should cover it here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can put it right here. No problem. And then this is going to wrap around now. Back from whence it came. And yeah, we'll do that 90-degree turn that I wasn't sure about. It'll fit nicely right there. I was thinking we could just bring it all the way north here as well, and that would work for perfectly fine too. But it's just there to be a turnaround, so no big deal. Alrighty, so we've got this set up. Now we need to go ahead and keep in mind... Oh yeah, go ahead, landfill it up, boys. And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and think about the boxes. Think about where these individual boxes are going to go. And how this is all going to work. Flowing like this. Now, remember, these ones on the sides are actually not too relevant. So we'll go ahead and just do one single one and then duplicate it across each single one. So what we're going to do here is 4 here. These are going to go, I believe, here. Let's go ahead and see. If we do that and that, then we can do the red, the long arm inserter right there. And that should work out fine. So yeah, we'll copy this across to each of these locations. I didn't do the red. There we go. And yeah, just taking care of doing it correctly once, and then the duplication of it will be much easier. And we'll just connect the line right there. Now we're going to go ahead and we need a train for the station. I don't think it is quite in the right spot. Put some coke in there. At least half of it. And is this facing the right way? I don't think it is. There we go. That's correct. So now I can go to Bergie, the best name for a train station, clearly. And we'll chill at Bergie for a bit. And that's the train stuff taken care of. Now we just got to belt to those locations. Get connected with that. And the way we're going to do that, first we start the drilling. Plenty to drill here. Plenty to pull up. We've got our electric mining drills en masse. And as far as how many belts can support this many mining drills, that's a good question. If we wanted to just say, like, okay, if we're making a bunch of copper, let's say we're just mining copper ore, 4 belts worth. The question becomes, is it for those belts or for those belts? Once we get the fast inserters, I think fast transport belts will apply. So let's just do 4 fast transport belts and see how many mining drills we need for that, if we have the right kind of drill, which will be this one right here. 48. So I think we're going to be able to cover that pretty well. If we're placing down 48 mining drills, I think we'll be able to segment it up pretty cleanly. So yeah, I think we'll start. I don't really care about the little patch on the right, so yeah, we'll start right here. And how many is that for starters? That is 8. Let's move it all down 1. I love the symmetry of placing it all in alignment the way we'd want it. We have to keep in mind electric poles, but I think we can manage that pretty well by running them behind and having one space in between each. So that's 16. One little space here. 32. And we're not going to 64, we're going to 48, which should be another 16. So that's pretty much perfect for what we have going on right now. Bam. So that is 48. Very nice. And yeah, like this one isn't going to be really doing much but by comparison, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any harm in me like just adding these. I mean, there is a lot of pollution coming in from all this operating at the same time. I almost want to, yeah, like cut these two in the middle and then do something weird like this. Which will cover a lot of this area. So these guys will work for a lot longer. And then they're still putting it equally on each side, and we'll just split it onto this, like with a merger. I'm happy with that. All right, so now we just belt it all up. And here. And now we run the electric poles as well. For starters, we'll run some behind here. Nope. Let's try that again. If I could do this correct, that'd be awesome. All right. Almost. Yeah, it's very easy to get imbalanced belts if you're not intentional about your placement for your mining drills and making sure that there's like an equal amount coming in from each side across the board. There's a rock in the way there, but I think this is all gonna be great. So I'm happy with that. One more conveyor belt line. The one issue that we're gonna have is we designed this for 4 belts, but you're only seeing 3 belts here. So we're actually gonna have to have a secret 4th belt, which is interesting. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do this for right now. And then we'll have to math out what our 4th belt is. So, 48 divided by 4, it's 12 each. And what you're seeing here is 16. So each of these has 4 extra. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to have the 4 extra at the bottom all put into their own right here. And then if we really wanted to, we could reclaim a few conveyor belts here. Not a big deal. It's going to end up copper order inventory, which is not great. So it doesn't, probably not worth 12 belts, but we have them. Okay, so that's just to merge it evenly, left and right. You could also do your T-junction like this, and that would be fine too. However you want to do it, doesn't really matter too much because, again, we've already mathed it out. This is 1 belt worth. I think splitters are cool, so I'll mess with it. But yeah, so that's going to be 1, and that'll be... Let's just say, I like how the sound, the rumble. I don't know if that's the bass sound for effect for the mining drills or the modified one, but it's good. Like, yeah, you just feel something's churning. All right, so we're gonna do another splitter thing here. No, this is a whole line. This is perfectly fine. So we just don't need to... I mean, we can do a splitter to balance and to make sure that they're giving an even amount to each box, which is always a good thing. But it's not that big of a deal, because in theory they should. And there's like a few that will be running out of resources slightly earlier, but generally speaking, they all should have roughly the same amount. Ooh, fish. So you can do like a splitter here, splitter here, splitter here, and that'll balance the lines, no problem. And then, yeah, we'll just see which one's going out to which. So we'll say this one goes to here. As we talked about before, there's technically a better way to throughput this, where each box is taking evenly instead of first come, first serve, but we're running on really slow inserters. It's not going to matter for quite some time. Oh, can't wait to at least get fast inserters, but please give me stack inserters soon. Train stations honestly barely make sense with the basic inserter. But here we are. All right. Listen to that, those babies purr. Yeah, all right. Enough of that. We have copper coming in. We have fuel in the train. We have a rudimentary signal set up for the train. So where's the train going is the next question. Well, we've got a steamroller we want to take with us. So we're going to go ahead and hop in that one. And we're heading south. Now this is what I want to talk about. So I did some practicing trying to figure out how I want to do the intersections for larger, like this. This is just a single stop intersection. For the most part, it's just a main line, and then if there happens to be a copper train, honestly, it could have been as small as one of these little divots here, but we went with this route instead. Either way, this is very minimal, but when we get to big intersections where we have like a lot of trains crossing paths, we get a little bit more concerned about throughput, how many trains can pass through the same amount of space in the same amount of time. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that we have not been really doing ourselves any favors by running trains in these parallel lines with two grid dots in between. So what we really want to be doing is moving towards a system that will have 4 grid dots in between, and that will allow us to do better intersections. So that's going to be the goal here. We have to find where we really want to be crushing and smelting. I guess it's going to be right here. And I think we can do it all in one chain. And what I mean by that is that he's going places. I kind of want him to stay places. We have a lot of work for the robots to do. Yeah, what I mean by that is the crushing and the smelting can all be in a row instead of like taking it to a crushing location, crush it all up, then take it to a smelting location, smelt it all up. No, we once we've got it in the system, we know how many resources are going out on each belt. We should be able to just get a consistent flow of crushing. So if we go back to our factory plan, instead of doing the copper ore, we actually wanted to do the copper ingots, and we wanted to do this. Is this 7200 or is it a weird number? Yeah, 7200. So if we multiply that by 1.5, then you'll come up with 10.8. So if we go ahead and delete this and we go for 10.8 copper ingots instead, that's going to be the supply that we want to be doing. Now this is more than 4 belts, red belts worth of copper ingots, but the reason for it is because that's how much you can get out of 4 red belts of copper ore. So if you do the crushed ore, it gives you 1 to 2 ingots per one, which ends up being equivalent to the 4 belts worth of material. So what we're going to be doing here is we're just making sure that we have the right amount, which is going to be, well, a lot. Let me go ahead and change my preference to make sure that we're electric mining drill, electric forestries, anything else. I think we're up to date otherwise. But geez, is that a lot. Like I said, when I made the second factory, the untangled unspaghetti factory, it's a lot of smelters. 288 electric furnaces to make that full copper line going. I'm just saying we're not doing that today. Let's do 1/4 of that if we can, which 288 over 4 is 72. 72 sounds more reasonable. Sounds like something we can manage. And it is going to put out 6 belts worth, or 1.5 belts worth of ingots, so we'll have to be smart about how we belt it. But yeah, 72, let's divide it by 3. 24. So 24 times 3 furnaces after we do how many crushers? Okay, so then I'll just do it a separate math here. 192 over 4. 48 crushers. Divide that by 3. We'll need 16 times 3. Well, we don't really need to do the times 3 part because the ingots is really where it becomes 1.5. The crushed ore is still 1-to-1. So we could do one big line of 48 if we wanted to. Or we could do 3 lines of 16 or yeah, whatever works. Let's do 48 over 2. Let's do 24. So we'll do 24 crushers times 2. Again, assuming we have all this on us. We do have 50 crushers. And furnaces, I remember making a lot. I kind of want to save some of these for steel. Nah, let's go ahead. Let's just make this, and we'll definitely make up for that later by making a lot more furnaces with our new factory once the copper is up and running. So we want to go beneath all this mining operation right around here. And we want to try to get out of the habit of running on this grid pattern. So what I'm going to do is make a T-junction. Yeah, what we're going to have to do is expand this out a bit. So what I made was a blueprint that I hope will be functional here. Let's go ahead and make sure we are filling in all the landfill nearby to make this easier. But I have a blueprint that is going to change my 2 pixels to 4 pixels effectively. And we can flip this number of ways to make this work however we want, but it's not clean how it works because the curve has to be a certain amount of angle. But basically we want to try to put more distance in between these rails than we had before. So we'll go ahead, clear this out. Put this on our train thing for now. And for this junction, we are expanding this. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing further down. We'll go ahead and do this vertically flipped. And this will allow us to do a cleaner T-junction that we can actually signal out properly to have better throughput. Because I expect we're going to actually want more trains going into this one. Significantly more. I mean, we could make separate bays and stuff for each type of material, which probably will. But in general, I want to start doing good practices. So you see, when I say the difference between 2 pixels and 4 pixels, you see here 2 transport belts fitting in between. Here you get 1, 2, 3, 4. So it just moves over 1 full notch, and that allows us to do a lot more in terms of signaling. If you made the T-junction as I did before, the issue is it's not on radar, but the issue is that you basically can't fit like rail signals in here because they're just too close. The triangles aren't big enough. So we're going to try to avoid that. We're going to go ahead and make sure we're covering this stuff right here. And then right down the middle if we can, we'll try to connect the dots. And hopefully I do this correct on my first try. One thing, like I said, rails are pretty finicky with how you set them up, and they two very similar looking lines could be completely different in terms of how they function or their end result. So I got to be careful about that. But we got a lot of rails to work with, and should be fine. So in theory, this one, in theory, you want it to be like this, but what actually ends up being in practice is you want this to go to be a straight line for a little bit. You want to like straighten it out here and do that. We'll see if that's actually right when we come to it, but for right now, we'll try it like that. And then this guy is going to be connecting so that this guy here will be able to do something similar. And so the key is to try to make them all like land right here from what I was playing around with. So I'm going to try to, yeah, I think this is going to be like the juncture, the cross point, where it all makes sense. If everything lines up on this little pixel. So right to right, right to right. And then, yeah, we'll go here and do something similar. So I can actually just do a horizontal flip. I think that was the right key. Maybe, oh, that's, yeah, vertical flip is what we actually wanted. And try this one. And I think this should do it. They didn't line up exactly the way I wanted to here. So that might be an issue. Let's go ahead and take a look though. We got signals. I should be on my rail stuff. So the issue is that we can't put rails right here. So like this guy's entering into this space. I want it to have rails. That's not the case here. So we're going to try these ones again. And if I can't figure it out, I'll have to pause again and find the right angle. It's all about the angles. And it's possible like this is like one dot too close, and then that's why it's not working. Like this, for example, should work. There we go. If we can just clear out these little bits and these little bits. Let's try that again. So this one here, trying to cross through the middle here. But is it here or here? Or neither? Let's try that. Is that what we just did? I can't really tell. But this does look closer to what I was looking for, so we'll try it. Yeah, this is what it looked like when I did it correctly the other time. I didn't want to just like raw blueprint it. I wanted to actually feel it out, and it's easy to think like I just like pulled it from a website or something, and I do want to try to use almost exclusively my own designs. If I ever look at another blueprint, it's for inspiration, not for anything else. But this does look right to me, so let's go ahead and see. Yeah, that's what we want, these little dots right in here, and that makes a big difference. So, oh no, okay. So this is really good. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll signal it out, and then we can blueprint it. And this will be our T-junction for when we have the proper rail alignment of 4 dots in between. Or proper from my perspective, because it works a lot better. We have signals. Let's use them. Alrighty, so how do you break this down with signals? Well, what you want to do is make sure that whenever it's entering an intersection, it doesn't really matter when it forks away from itself. Like this, I'll just pretend this is a train. And it's like on the rails here. It doesn't really matter that it's splitting off into 2 directions. That's not really the most important thing, because it's blocking itself anyways. What's really important is where it's going when the 2 merge together. That's what you really want to be making sure that you block it off. Now this is its own thing. And then we go over here and we say, okay, well, we have another merge, right? So we're going to go ahead and block it off here. Looking better. And then we'll do one more where these guys are merging in here. Right lane, going across, merges here. That's a great starting point. That already covers a lot of ground. But there's still a little bit too much connection in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to do chain signals. So I like to say the Spirited Away character Chihiro, chain in, rail out. There's probably an extra couple letters in there, but whatever. And if you do a chain before a rail, if you have 2 rail signals and there's not enough space for a train in between the 2, you're going to want to do a chain signal instead. So that's where we're going to do this. And it looks good. We can probably make this smaller to a little tighter by doing something like this. Try to reduce the blue area a little bit. And then we're going to want to do the same thing for all of the ones that are entering the middle, which there's 3 different spots. There's here, which you can't really get closer than that. And then there's also going to be here. So if you do something like this, or something like this maybe, This is basically as good as you're going to get. This yellow area is much smaller. So we don't have the radar. I can't really show you, but if you remember or you rewind back to where the blue signal was here with this yellow area is much smaller. And it also means that this yellow area is separate from this green area. And that's important because it allows any train that needs to go along this road and along this road straight through, that they don't have to stop for each other, which doesn't make sense, right? They're never going to collide when everybody stays on the right side of the road. So yeah, that's basically it. They're all separated out, and we're happy with it. So we can go ahead and blueprint this up. And if anybody has any questions about it, feel free to ask in the comments. I definitely am not a train expert, but I'm trying to understand it better. That's the goal, right? That's what we're all trying to do, really. So we can go up one. Nope, this is part of the curve as well. Okay, we'll just do this one. We'll say T intersection. And we can do the letter T or a 3 or whatever. And it is going to be the 4 dots in between, but I don't feel like noting that because I think that's going to be my standard moving forward. I figure this is as good a place as any to remind you that it's okay to take a break a little bit. Go ahead, walk around the room, get yourself a glass of water, check your posture, do a 20-20-20 vision check, just all that good stuff. Keep your machine running so you can keep these machines running. Oh, or if you're like me, you can check on a 2-week-old newborn and make sure you're on top of everything. But we'll continue onward. We got a lot of building to do, so we'll keep things rolling. By the way, if you would care to check below the video, you can check if you have gotten a chance to subscribe to the channel. It's a really big help to allow more people to see the videos, and would really appreciate it if you considered it. Not a big deal if you don't. All up to you, but it would be super cool. Alrighty. Moving on, we're gonna make this one a big one. Trying to think about like how much space I'm actually gonna need for what I want to do, and I really don't know. It could be like all the way out to here. I mean, obviously that's as big as our factory is straight up, but it really comes down to how future-proof we want these operations to be. So the idea here is we want all of our trains, our copper, our tin, our iron, our steel, all flowing through here. To be able to process all of these materials. I really do want to check out ore washing real quick and see, all caps, if that consumes crushed material or what. So ore washing from metal bearing ores. So copper ore washing, it does crushed copper ore specifically, crushed tin ore, crushed iron ore. Crushed gold ore. Oh, I forgot about gold entirely. See, even more stuff we might need to work on. So, yeah, we want this one big. We're going to stretch it out for a long time. This might seem excessive. It might end up being excessive, but we want to make sure there's enough room. And I do think what I want to do is going to take up a lot of room. That's why we started building as far north as we could to stretch it down south as much as we need to. It's definitely overkill for just the copper operation, but, you know, we're thinking big. We're thinking really what we want to be doing. And I have some ideas. So the idea is we're going to have a holding station, which is something I've never built before, but should be a fun time. And then after that, they'll be individually sorted into whatever type of train they are. And we'll fill in this landfill right here. And then they'll go to their individual station to drop off the materials, which will then flow down south in vertical columns of crushing, smelting, or later it'll be crushing, washing, smelting. And then the end product will head up the southern side. So that's the goal. I'll have to figure out ways to like inject coke into the steel line and stuff like that. How I want to do an iron and a steel line individually, but I think this should cover it. This is quite a bit of space now. Yeah, I always can expand it as well if I need to. It'll just be redoing the blueprint and pushing it to the side, basically. Same thing you would do with a cut and paste job in your factory. So I think this is probably where I'm going to stop just so I don't go too crazy, too far away, start polluting areas I haven't even explored yet, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, what I want to do is we'll start with this blueprint here. So we'll start with the little train station that could, and we'll see what we end with here. But this little outlet here is going to be perfect for our starting point. And we'll, want to have a little bit of extra space here. So this is going to be our holding station. We don't want any of the boxes. We don't want any of the inserters. We can just go ahead and cancel all that. And we don't even want the train station or the signals. So we can go ahead and get rid of those as well. And a couple of those while we finish up the tech tree that we're running. More lab research speed, never hurt. I think we'll do both of those, or misclick. That's always great too. There we go. Lab research 4, and then looks like we can upgrade this one more time. That's actually great. Being able to have more military robots following us. If that's like goes from like 5 to, it's +5 each time, right? So if we can have 15 instead of 5, that's a lot of scatterbots. Obviously, we should probably use the turret ones, but scatterbots. All right, we'll want this area to be clear. And now what we can go ahead and do, because we know that we already designed this one to be filling in 4 spaces, right? Yeah, no problem at all. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take this horizontal part where there's no curve and just mirror that up to, you have to leave a space because we need a rail signal. We need to leave space for the rail signal. But we're going to go ahead and start doing this a few times. How many times? That's a good question. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seems pretty good for right now. You can always go higher, but really this is going to be great for quite some time. And then we just really need to connect it to the main line again, where it came from. So that's about as good as it's going to get for the first one. For this one, we'll stretch it a little bit further. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think there might be a way to kind of merge these a little bit closer together, but honestly, we're not using this space for anything either anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. And then we'll want to duplicate that. So we'll go ahead and we'll just do a horizontal flip. Great hotkey. I'm glad I learned that one, because that was one key item that I was missing from my old factories. I think this connects nicely. Yeah, all right. So now we just do rail signals. Just a vertical line right here. Bam, bam. And all this. And then we'll do one at the entry point to this as well. I need to make some more. And get that underway real quick. And so we have these signals, and what we're going to do is connect all this together with a chain signal. This chain signal can be a decision maker of, hey, which one is free? It can basically be that person, that attendant that tells you which line to stand in at the grocery store. It's like, oh, this one's open. And so this one chain signal will say, oh, I'm checking all 6 of these, and I'll tell you if one of them is valid, and you can go through. If all of them are valid, you'll probably just go through the easiest one, the closest to your destination. But that is a great option for what I'm about to do, which is swing around and head back the other way after we clear it out a bit. Might need this space. We'll just go ahead and take care of that just to be sure. I'm going to try to use this method. I'm not sure it'll actually accomplish what I want, but that's not bad. And we usually would do this, but we have a new style. It's going to be 4 in between for the transport belts. And yeah, that's correct. No, we're not aligning this to chunks. I'm not that pro yet, but you know, one day, maybe. Got a lot of extra wood and stone. We want to make sure we have some space in our cargo, though, so we can go ahead and throw that into our trash slots. And it'll be fine. All right. So what's the point of all this? Well, we now have a holding station, a wraparound. Technically speaking, it's better the holding station is closer because these guys are going to have a longer signal time. Like this signal will be read longer if it's taking longer for them to get out of the way. So what I could do instead is move all this all the way to the end of the line. Or I think more logically, we would want to cut this instead and try to paste it where it makes the most sense. So let's see if this fits right here. We can go ahead and cancel these. So if this can follow this line properly, then it works. And if it doesn't, then we have to go, it looks like we have to go just one to the right. So we're going to go ahead and take that same paste and go one right here. And then connect all these in. Should be fairly simple. And then with this one gone, we are... Yeah, now we have the holding station at the closest point before the wraparound, and now we get to do the fun part, which is going back to this one right here. I think, if I could hit it properly. I think we need a little bit to the left. We might catch one guy from the top. Yeah, we'll catch one rail from the top, but that's okay. Wow, we did it perfectly. Other than some rail signals we don't want. And we'll go ahead and set it up here. Assuming that connects properly. Is there space for signals as well? Maybe we'll do it one to the right just to make sure there's space for signals. Yeah, no rush on this. Let's do it over here. And we're missing a little bit of the horizontal action here. All right, that's one. We can get rid of the rail signals now. And we're actually going to be doing something more similar to what we had over here. This is going to be a unloading station off to the side. So we'll go ahead and do that right over here. And it should all fit, in theory. Sure. We'll have to probably revisit. We'll definitely have to revisit the... Okay, well, what we can do is just turn all this around, right? And this will have to be on... Well, that works fine, actually. Cool. Even that doesn't feature the long arm inserter stuff yet, so... And then we don't want underground belts here, we want regular belts. So do we want to do... Yeah, we'll do the long arm inserter stuff here. And we'll just take down the poles for these. And we'll have a box here and a box here. And that's not an electric pole. Then we'll just copy this again. Bam. Bam. I think I'm starting to like the train stuff. Obviously, we have yet to see it actually work, but in my mind's eye, I can see how this could work out, and I like the idea of all this stuff working out. It's just, it's still very foreign to me, but I mean, I feel like all the pieces are there to make this actually work. And yeah, we just do that a lot. So the exact same thing we just did. We'll go ahead, copy paste it across multiple times. I don't know how many spaces we need, like here. I think that's my main question. I think if we just mirror it like this, that's gonna be fine. And we want to make sure our heavy roller is close enough because it's going to be doing almost all of our work here. Rolling, rolling, rolling. So yeah, we'll need one for... I mean, tin is definitely not going to need that much attention, but it would be nice to do, just to keep it consistent and have a place for it to go. It's going to need to go somewhere, so it might as well go in the line. But the ones we'll prioritize, of course, are going to be copper, iron, steel. Does that mean I do 2 iron depots? Yeah. Yeah, we'll do one that's just purely iron and one that's purely steel, or... Honestly, we're probably going to need, like, from what I was seeing, like, probably 2 steel. 3 iron depots, basically. 2 for steel, 1 for iron, I think would probably be a good idea. But it really comes down to, like, the throughput of the inserters and the belts and all that stuff if we actually need to do multiple stations for it. So you see how we're actually using the space quite a bit. Like, this is very quickly... utilizing the space in a way that will allow us to take advantage of it and make what we need to happen. I don't know if those words make any sense, but basically it doesn't seem that excessive now that I've kind of mapped it out to this extent because of the all the different resources we're going to be processing here. All right, I'd say this is about as good a point as any to wrap things up. I'm going to go ahead and make a few changes, a few tweaks off the recording, and yeah, we'll see what we're looking at and get into the actual like mega base processing unit when we come back. Until then, thanks for watching.